How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? With everything that's going on in our world right now, this could be a quote from almost anyone. Maybe many of you are thinking those thoughts right now. But that line is actually the very first words we have from the prophet Habakkuk. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Habakkuk was specifically calling out about violence and injustice and oppression, but his question is just as relevant and relatable to us today. With COVID 19 still on the rise around the world, and with response to the virus affecting our lives so drastically, it is easy for us to ask, how long, O Lord, will we call for help, but you do not listen? This begs the age old question, why does a good God allow evil in the world? Well, we're not going to get to the bottom of that question in just a couple of minutes. I do want to bring up a particular thought, the thought of hope. With death and layoffs and isolation, hope is something that we drastically need, but might be something that seems just out of reach. And as we're crying out to God, how long, O Lord, must we call out for help, but you do not listen? It may seem that we're losing hope in God. Where are the signs? Where are the miracles? Where is the power of God? We live in a world where brokenness and sickness and death are present and affect us every day. But that is not what God desires. These things are a result of the world being out of alignment with God. In Revelation 21, we see that God desires to wipe away every tear, to dwell with us in a world where there is no longer death or mourning or crying or pain. And God is preparing that new world for us, but it has not come yet. We live in the current reality of brokenness. So, God walks through brokenness with us. And we're asked to partner with God to move our current reality closer to the reality of the new world that God is preparing for us. Some will experience more healing in this life, just as some will experience more brokenness in this life. And no, it's not fair, but that is the unfortunate reality of brokenness. Those who experience more healing are called to help heal those who experience more brokenness. But above all of that, every single one of us is given the hope of experience full healing when God dwells among us in the new heaven and the new earth. In the meantime, we wait on God. In the next few videos, we'll explore different parts of waiting on God. But today we come face to face with the very hard question, will you hold on to hope even when there are no signs from God? Habakkuk started off with the cry, how long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? But he ends his book on a very different note. He writes, though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to go on the heights. Habakkuk holds on to his hope without any signs of God's future salvation and grace. In fact, Habakkuk seems to be experiencing the opposite. The situation around him is getting worse. The crops and flocks are withering and gone. Starvation is encroaching and violence is in the future. God, the Creator, the life giver, seems to be missing as death comes rushing to meet Habakkuk and the Israelites. Yet Habakkuk rejoices and even finds joy in God, calling God Savior before a sign of salvation appears. Habakkuk draws his strength from God, even when it seems like God's strength is missing. I think this is where we are right now, clinging onto hope without signs. You are not alone in this endeavor. Many, like Habakkuk, have come before you with the same hope. Many now cling tightly to this hope with you. God's strength is not dependent on what's going on in the world. God's strength is not dependent on what signs we may or may not see. The sovereign Lord is always here, ready to be our strength. Over the next couple of days, write out a prayer to God. It can be as long or as short as you want it to be. Start with a cry out to God. Like the prophet Habakkuk and like the psalmist, learn to ask God, where are you? But in the prayer, with reconfirming your hope and your faith in God, regardless of the current circumstance. May this prayer help you learn to hope without signs.